Fallout 76, a game that released with plenty of fanfare, emotional reviews and record-breaking scores. There's even a 3-hour video detailing all the bonus features that came free with the initial release. Bethesda took what they're best known for, which is creating virtual worlds filled with things to do and people to talk to, quests that tie into the rich histories they weave their tales from, and scrapped all that in favour of an entirely player-populated space. What was lacking in NPCs was overcompensated for in the form of game-breaking bugs and technical issues. The wasteland that so many fell in love with had its most interesting features stripped out, and whilst this makes sense for something of a more convincing post-apocalyptic setting, the lack of life of any kind other than mutated and hostile quickly turned into a stale experience. You see, players that have enjoyed Fallout from the start have done so because of its portrayal of humanity trying to rebuild, how the remaining population divides into factions, and how those factions interact and shape the world that's left behind. But there's loads of videos out there about that. Hello everyone, my name's Pete and I don't like Star Wars, superhero movies or MMOs. I've been playing a bunch of MMOs to challenge myself and my views about them, and very rarely are my disconnected assumptions correct. Who would have thought it? I'm playing Fallout 76 because playing Fallen Earth last time put me in a wasteland mood. This video is brought to you by these wonderful Patreon supporters. If you want to see your name on here, then you could see a doctor, but the way to do it is in the description. I'm very open to suggestions of games to try, so if there's anything you'd like to see me have a go at, leave it in the comment section. Launching the game and accepting the terms and conditions takes you here, to a screen that's completely useless to a new player. I don't know why I'd need to read the patch notes when I've never played before, but thank you, I think. There's a cutscene that provides the obligatory "war never changes" speech, but while it's nicely put together, I feel like I've heard this all before. And then I get to make my character. This is essentially the same as Fallout 4, but with less power over what you can create. I did manage to craft visual perfection, however. And then I was shoved into a photo mode to take an ID photo. I didn't really understand what was going on and accidentally lost sight of my character and somehow managed to skip the photo. And now I have control. I interacted with some bits around me, including this terminal, which has a minigame ready to play. I played this for about 20 minutes before realising I was recording and I need to go. Our old friend the Pip-Boy goes on the arm and we're off to experience the glory of Reclamation Day, which means playtime is over and get out of the vault. 25 years have passed since the Great War that brought the world to its knees, which means we were likely a child when the bombs fell. On the way out, there's a procession of robots handing out supplies that are deemed necessary to rebuilding the world. This includes meds, some building supplies, and a party hat. One robot notices my fabulous hair colour, and another gives me a pack of cards for special stat allocation and enough experience points to level up. All special stats start at 1, and increasing one of them grants a selection of perk that can be equipped via perk cards. I noticed that there's a buff to bows, which sounds awesome, so I choose that. And he never thought about bows again. And then I noticed that in this cavalcade of gifts they neglected to give me a weapon. But no time to dwell on that as I'm being ushered into the light. You know that reveal moment in Fallout 3, and the one in New Vegas, and there's one in 4, where you step outside and there's a view for you? Yeah, well, this one didn't hit very well. I don't know why, but those moments always felt impactful, even in New Vegas when you hadn't been stuck underground for an eternity. I expected more, but I also realised my graphics settings were defaulted to low, so I'll quickly fix that now. Not a great deal of difference, is there? I talk to another robot outside and ask him about the world, and he informs me that it's been peaceful for the most part. He also tells me that there are some people hanging around and he'd like me to find out what they want. He tells me they're the non-vault type and that makes him nervous. I speak to them and discover that they're on the trail of some sort of treasure. They paid all their money for information that pointed them to this vault, and I get to piss on their bonfire and tell them they've been scammed. I ask about the area and they tell me about a group named the Scorched who have been killing and raiding, and that locally, people are mostly on the hunt for this big treasure. I don't know if I'm supposed to be interested myself in finding this treasure, but I'm really not. I want to check out the building mechanics and see if I can make a cool fort or something. I managed to squeeze a free weapon out of them and they point me to a place named the Wayward for more info, and satisfied that I've learned what I can from here, I set off down the road. Almost immediately I run into our old friends the Feral Ghouls, and then I happen upon some kind of outpost where a guy is keeping watch on the road. I can play as Banjo and take his stuff for free. I'm not sure if owned items and stealing works like it used to, but you're damn right I'm going to take it if I can. The quest marker's leading me further down the path, but there's a building just off the road and I want to look around. It took me less than 100 steps to get sidetracked, and honestly, that's a good thing. Inside the old sawmill I find some Daddy-O. I don't remember that one from the previous games, but a quick Google search tells me that it is in fact in Fallout 4. There are also some workbenches that offer a familiar crafting and scrapping system. I make myself some throwing knives out of some scrap steel for no reason in particular, and then move on. On a patch of farmland further down the road I find these petrified corpses that shatter when you interact with them, and in the house I engage in battle with some of the Scorched, who appear to be a band of armed ghouls. I didn't hear them speak, but their ability to wield weapons separates them from their feral counterparts. I sift through the house for bits and bobs and then accidentally stumble upon the only thing that I would believe to be the big treasure that everyone's after. This adorable kitty. I will name him Rudy, and he is precious. There are some more petrified corpses scattered about, and I have questions as to whether or not they're recent. I can't tell, but I'll look out for more information about them. Then I forget what I was doing and just start wandering into buildings and looting things. I don't know about you, but this is already a pretty authentic Fallout experience. But at the same time, if you told me this was a Fallout 4 mod, I'd believe you. My only actual problem so far is this weird lighting effect that happens fairly frequently. That's horrible and I don't want to look at it. It doesn't last too long, but it happens enough to be annoying. I reach my destination, which is just a couple of structures plonked on the roadside. There are some functional vending machines that are only one-way vendors, which is pretty cool. I would have expected to be able to sell to them, even though that makes no sense. I activate the door and head inside, and I'm warned that I'm entering an instance for only me. Neither strangers nor my friends can accompany me in here, and I'll likely be making story-important decisions. Inside, there's an angry man brandishing a gun and demanding something from the barkeep. I get his attention and distract him until one of the guys in the bar pops him from behind. After this, I'm quickly ushered into main character position and offered payment for dealing with these thugs, who are apparently here frequently, demanding the same information. I don't know why they think repeatedly harassing someone would change what they know, and as far as I can tell, she has no reason to hide anything she might have learned, but maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. Being given a reason to explore the wasteland is why I'm here, so I accept the offer of 50 caps to see the thugs off. So far as I can tell, 50 caps is a decent amount for now. Even later down the line I couldn't buy or sell anything from a vendor for more than 5 or 6 caps, so whilst I didn't know it at the time, this was a pretty good deal. The plan right now is to find out more about the thugs and where they come from. They've been demanding information about someone named Crane in regards to this treasure I keep hearing about, and so Duchess has a scheme to lure them out. I need to build a sign marking a spot as Crane's headquarters and lure the thugs in with a radio transmission. This is a flimsy excuse to teach me how to use the building functions, but I was looking for an excuse to try it myself anyway, so I'll take it. Mort, the guy who shot the guy in the back before, gives me some holotapes that he made with instructions on how to use my camp, which is some kind of deployable storage and building helper device. Mort is also the first regular ghoul we meet, and as per tradition, I'm given dialogue choices to demand an explanation for his appearance, but this is a relatively gentle introduction to ghouls compared to previous entries where we see them being treated like dirt for no particular reason. Something that always bothered me is the distinct advantage ghouls have for living in the conditions of the world in this setting, but having them at a massive social disadvantage. It's a bit nonsensical, but now isn't the time to talk about that. So off I go to set up camp. It needs to adhere to some fairly specific parameters. Can't be too close to existing locations, needs to be on relatively flat ground, and I'm not entirely certain, but I think it can't overlap with another player's camp too, but I haven't seen anyone else around yet, so that shouldn't be too much of a problem. I kind of want to build on a hill, and I can see one that suits me, so I start heading towards it. On the way I help some settlers defend the camp from some raiders, and I find this floating tree which is a wonderful bonus feature, and really makes the really makes the wasteland feel unique. I also found a nice rock to set up camp on. Placing the camp device and interacting with it opens the build menu straight from Fallout 4, although I don't remember the controls feeling quite so clunky. Maybe I need to refresh my memory on that one. I need to use the plans I was given or picked up as items in the Pip-Boy in order to unlock new things to build. I set up my super smart sign that everyone is going to fall for, and I assume this doubles up as a radio tower. Just need to figure out how to load the holotape in to broadcast the message. Maybe if I... no. I spent way longer on here than I'd like to admit, but eventually I looked at the map and read the quest properly and realised what I was supposed to do. I need to load the holotape into a broadcast tower across the way, and my camp is currently a little too far away to be convenient, so I'm going to pack up and move closer. On my way there I obviously get distracted and poke my nose into whatever I can see. I ran into this spooky looking purple thing that teleported away, which is fortunate for me because it was level 20 and I never would have been able to fight it. But just to be on the safe side, I execute a tactical withdrawal. Eventually I reach the tower and there are a few of the Scorched hanging around, and I make my first use of VATS here. VATS, rather understandably, can't stop time anymore, and in all seriousness it never really did. You don't need to manually aim when VATS is activated, and your hit chance will determine whether or not you successfully connect an attack. You can unlock specific limb targeting later on with a perk card, but overall I'm quite happy with this function. It's still useful in that you don't have to track the enemy, but it's not the time-stopping tactical advantage that it used to be. I loot the area before doing what I'm supposed to, because obviously, and I run into the first player I've seen since starting. I make no effort to communicate in case I offend them and get myself shot, but it looks like they're doing the same quest as me. I put the holotape in the thing and I'm told to wait and see who responds. A guy shows up who just seems curious, so I just send him on his way, and then two armed gentlemen wander in and demand to know what I know. Instead, I play the Uno reverse card and make them tell me what they know, and they tell me where the hideout is. I leave and head back to the Wayward with what I've learned. On the way I find another player's camp with the same sign set up. I can't really interact with the stuff except the stash box, which is global storage. It doesn't matter where you access one of these boxes, you'll only ever see your own belongings. Despite my own desire to build a camp and the game's attempts to encourage that, I'm still feeling more drawn towards exploring for now. I report back to Duchess, and Mort recognises the place that's supposed to be the gang's hideout. Apparently it was overrun with super mutants recently, and either they're lying, or this gang is tougher than we might have anticipated. Mort gives me some information on the surrounding landmarks and suggests I seek some help or advice from the nearby settlements. I'm told the best way to get where I'm going is to backtrack to Vault 76 and follow the road north. I could fast travel, which works as expected, with the caveat that it costs caps now. It's more expensive for longer distances, but it's still cheap. Either way, I'd rather walk and explore. The quest stretches quite far, and that's going to give me plenty of chances to be distracted, which is the best way to play Fallout. I pass confirmation that Fallout takes place in the Command & Conquer timeline, and I notice that I missed a misc objective, but one I can come back to later, so I'm not too bothered. I reach a farm, one of the places Mort told me about, and ask about the gang. The farmer gets nervous when I talk about it and asks me to leave, but on the way out a girl tells me there's something in the safe beneath the stairs that I should know about. It's a holotape, but I can't get it because I don't have any bobby pins. I use the various workbenches to see if I can make any, but no dice. So I leave and head towards an old fairground, which is the other place Mort mentioned. On the way there I notice that either hunger and thirst are not decreasing, or they're very slow to decrease. Either way, it's nice that the mechanic isn't as intrusive on the experience as survival stuff can be sometimes. Upon reaching the fairground, I had another brief encounter with the Scorched, and the player was acting rather strangely. I didn't understand what was happening at first, but they were trying to bring my attention to a gift they'd placed on the ground. A shotgun and a bucket load of ammo for me. Thank you, Tiger 13, I will never forget your kindness. I can't use it for another level, but I'm grateful for the assistance. On the roof of one of the buildings is the man I'm after, and when talking to him, his subtitles get interrupted by a radio broadcast, which was a bit annoying. I got confused between what I was reading and hearing, but apparently he wants me to steal an egg for him. He won't give me any more details than that, so it's obviously dangerous. Looting around him, because ownership is an illusion, I got my hands on a couple of bobby pins, and I decided I'll backtrack to the farm and see if I'm missing anything important. I also get told that I'm in the vicinity of an event that involves killing wolves, and it's nearby, so why not? I find a pack of wolves and first try one of my throwing knives. Perfection. Then I use my enormous brain to decide that a cluster of enemies like this is the perfect time to try grenades. And I was right. I also realise I've been carrying some hunting rifles for however long and remember that these are my weapon of choice in Fallout. So now I'm much more comfortable. On the way back to the farm I get ambushed by some cultists and have to retreat. I circle back around and engage them on my terms, and luckily the AI is terrible, so it's pretty easy to win. At this point I realise how much I appreciate the glowing lootable corpses. I get back to the farm and find the safe unlocked. Is it just a case of having the right skill and holding bobby pins? I expected at least the lockpicking minigame to exist. It turns out the gang are extorting food from the farmers. This doesn't really help me with the quest, but it does give me an excuse to kill them if I have the chance to. Oh, but I do learn the password to get into their base. Very nice. And then I notice that the wolf event is on a timer, so I sprint towards the objective, but I'm way too slow. I also have another misc objective telling me someone named Jangles is lost in the fairground. I don't know if this is a person, an animal, or a toy, but I'll have a look around anyway. While snooping, I noticed this pre-war missing person poster. I wonder if there's a skeleton matching this description somewhere, or perhaps a ghoul. Are there ghoul children in Fallout? Upon reaching level 5, I'm told I can enable PvP, but I can't imagine why I would want to. I'm also not quite understanding perk cards, as it seems I can just equip all the ones I own at once. I trigger another quest just by wandering into this area. I'm told to clear the ghouls out, and when I do, I'm supposed to claim the workbench, but apparently PvP can be initiated by someone trying to claim it from me, so I'm not sure I want to do that. And then I realised that I don't know how death is handled, and I suppose I'll have to find out at some point. And that some point might be closer than I thought, because the egg I'm supposed to steal is from a Deathclaw. It's patrolling an island surrounded by irradiated water, so being the super genius that I am, I use some Rad-X before swimming over. I get spotted and panic and run away, and then notice the Deathclaws moved. So I take a chance, grab the egg and flee very bravely. That was pretty tense for a minute there. On the way back, an alert tells me that a nuke has been launched, and well, that can't be good. Luckily the map shows a blast radius and it's very far away, so I just go about my business. I ended up claiming the workshop from before on my way back and got given a chance to redo the wolf event too, which yielded a few rewards for me. I also had an event for the workshop I just claimed, defending it from wild dogs. After dealing with these, I handed the Deathclaw egg in and received 3 stealth boys as a reward. I guess sneaking into the bandit camp is one way in. I carry on looking for jangles for a while and then start collecting teddy bears, and discover that the lockpick minigame does in fact exist, and I get my hands on a nice hat. And then I give up on jangles. Sorry whoever or whatever you are, but I've got thugs to deal with. It turns out that getting in was as easy as using the password, but I have a feeling that getting out will involve a lot more blood. I find the leader, and then I'm faced with some speech checks that I can't pass, which means I'll have to be a little bit unorthodox with negotiations. I paint a message on the wall with what I assume is the blood of my victims, but I hope is conveniently placed red paint, and I head outside. I have to fight my way out, and I really enjoyed doing so. I level up again, and then perk cards suddenly make more sense. I can put on 1 card per special stat, so if I have 3 perception, I can use 3 perception perk cards. On the way back, I see what looks like player-controlled aircraft circling in the air, and that's both cool and terrifying considering the limitations of this game engine. I decide to fast travel back to the Wayward since I've walked this road a lot by now. Duchess then informs me that if I want information I'm going to have to help some more, and I already did lots, lady, you owe me something. This has felt like an authentic Fallout experience so far. There seems to be plenty to do and I've barely been anywhere. But most of all, I'm getting the sense of adventure that you're supposed to get with a Bethesda game. This is a better Fallout experience than ESO created as an Elder Scrolls experience in my opinion. Is the game free of jank? Of course not. There are floating trees, the NPCs wait a week between lines when talking, the hit detection on enemies can be awful, and the threat of a nuke being dropped on your head is quite frankly as hilarious as it is terrifying. The game feels old, and that's because the parts it's made out of are old. But underneath all those complaints you can definitely make, there's still a piece of Fallout there. Post-apocalypse wasteland exploration, scavenging, and most importantly, being the only one who can get things done for NPCs are all still part of the experience, and for that, I can forgive a few bugs and have fun with what's there. And that's really all I've got to say about it. I can definitely see myself playing more for fun, so if I reach the 30-hour or so mark, I'll update you on my progress. Thanks again to the Patreon supporters who are a really good motivator to actually make videos, and please keep the recommendations coming in the comments, and if you want to make me feel nice you can press subscribe. But for now, thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.